Yay, here they come.
People come flooding into the room.
They do.
Welcome.
Welcome, everyone.
Hello. All right, we're going to give everybody a chance to get in.
I wish I had my hand tracking so I could wave at everyone.
Just wave your head. Wave your
head.
I'll
hand gesture for you, Brandy.
Yes,
I'll gesture for
All right. And yeah, so everybody should be muted as you come in, but please go ahead and turn on your camera if you would like to hang out visually with us. If you would rather keep your camera off because you've got a bag of Doritos, you want to keep them all to yourself, that is fine. But if you want to turn on your camera, you're certainly welcome to. And if you have a question for us, because we're going to be chatting, but I am going to try to keep an eye on the chat in the side. If you have a question, in order to help it stand out from the chat, please format it with the word question in all caps at the front, and that will help me to grab it out of the stream of movie recommendations or whatever else is going on over there. So it'd be great.
Excellent.
Yeah. So, all right. And it looks like everybody is in. My waiting room has stopped percolating. So we are probably ready to go. And I guess that means like I should do an introduction or something. Hi, people. This is a panel. So yeah, this is I Don't Belong Here. We are going to be talking about imposter syndrome, what it is, where it comes from, what do we do with it, and what do we do about it. So we have an array of guests that I am not going to try to summarize. So I'm just going to ask Sarah, who is on the top left on my view, to introduce yourself, and we'll go around that way if we could.
Awesome. Thanks, Laura. Hi, guys. I'm Sarah Kades Graham. I write fiction under Sarah Kades. I write nonfiction under Sarah Graham. I was an archaeologist for over 20 years. I also do Indigenous knowledge facilitation. I love the outdoors. I love nature. I love Mama Earth. I love sharing that with people. I also love arts-based approaches. So I've got an academic nerdy side and a super creative side. And I love how writing is a medium that I can share that with others. And it's awesome to be here.
Brandy, you're next in my list.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm your favorite foxy writer, Brandy Ackerley. I'm an author, a VTuber, and most recently, a streamer on Twitch now as well. I create worlds with words. When I'm not writing books or scripting videos for YouTube nowadays, you can usually find me making outfits for characters like this.
Cool.
I actually have 3 different outfits and 3 different hairstyles, one for each day of this. So woot.
Okay, I'm not sure I change clothes that often at a conference, like in real life. So yeah, anyway, sorry, go ahead.
I love gaming, mythology, anime, reading, and Hunter's Gambit and Lord's Curse are my first books. Hopefully the next one's coming out this fall.
Okay.
Mark.
I have different t-shirts to go underneath my sports coats for every day of the conference, so I'm pretty excited about that. My name is Mark Leslie Lefebvre. I have been, my first story was published in 1992, which is the year I also started working in the book industry. I started writing and publishing under the name Mark Leslie because nobody could ever spell or pronounce Lafave. So I've developed that career in parallel. I've embraced traditional publishing, and I've worked with several traditional publishers, and I also have embraced self-publishing. I've got about 30 books in total, sort of maybe a 60-40 split, 60% self and 40% with trad publishing. So I've been in the book industry for 4 decades now, and I'm constantly learning every day about the publishing industry. And I'm also passionate not only about writing scary stories, which may explain the skulls behind me, but I'm also passionate about helping other writers, because I will admit, I still feel like an imposter, particularly with these amazing panelists that I'm hanging out with. I'm like, well, what am I doing here? They know all the cool things.
If it helps, I feel the same way.
Guys, that's why we have this panel.
Yes. Success.
Yes.
Success.
So yeah, congrats. First of all, we're relatable. Yay. Achievement unlocked.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm Laura VanArendonk Baugh. I am a hybrid author, both traditionally and self-published. I write angsty epic fantasy and animal behavior science. So I'm just really bad at branding is the way I sum that up. And yeah, there's a reason I wanted to talk about this. So yeah, it's really, this is a thing that, well, I think we were just chatting, before the waiting room opened, with like, yeah, this is a thing, it's for everybody and it doesn't go away. Right. So let's just learn what to do with it, what to do with it when it's here. So I'm going to start just because I know what I mean when we say imposter syndrome, but that might not include all of the feelings that Sarah has when she says imposter syndrome. So let's start with just what is it specifically that we're talking about, that we're going to address here?
So I guess for me, it's when you get those flare-ups, and for me, it's like a flare-up where it's like, oh my God, what am I doing? Why did I pick this route? Of all the artistic mediums to choose, why did I choose this industry? It's painful. It's not for the faint of heart. It can be a harsh industry, but it can also be such a beautiful community as well. So when I get these flare-ups, it's like a love-hate relationship. I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing? It's like, oh wait, but I love this. So yeah, for me, I guess the imposter syndrome is just that second guessing of, why am I choosing to share something so deep that comes from like the deepest part of my core? Like, why am I sharing that with anyone else to judge or to comment on? And then I remember I want to because if it can be of service to others, then it's worth it. Then the pain's worth it. And I hate to say such like pain, but being an artist in this art form for me actually can be quite a painful experience. So yeah,
we've all done revisions. We know what that is. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess, yeah. So imposter is like, oh my God, what am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing. What am I doing? And then kind of talking yourself down the lead. You're like, no, it's cool. This is just process. This is journey. This is, yeah. So for me, that's what it is. And I guess also, sorry, really, really surrounding yourself with an amazing team, right? Whether that's like your network of friends, of professional, like whatever your team is, that's also, I think, a huge part of navigating imposter syndrome. Yeah.
I think
I remember somebody said something along the lines of, authors tend to get it worse than most because we put out novels and then we don't hear anything back for a year and a half. So you don't even know if people liked it for a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
So my day job, we want feedback in 0.39 seconds for the most part. And then like, I'll send off a draft and, that submission will be out there for like, I don't know, decades before you hear back. Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, Mark, what were you going to say?
Well, I just think that when you're a writer, right, you want to write, you want to share stories, you want to write novels, you want to tell stories, and you want other people to read them. It sometimes comes with that, who am I to be the one to share this thing? Because so many people have done this for hundreds and hundreds of years. They've written, they've shared. How can I dare write a romance when I could never compare to Jane Austen? Or any of those things? How can I write a horror story without, comparing myself to Stephen King or anything like that? And the answer to that, sort of, which is hard, but you have to kind of pound it into your head or your friends' heads, is that you're the best person to write that book, that specific book that you read. And you're the only person who could actually write it. Yeah. And that can be a way to lead you to confidence, because so if Sarah and I may have a concept that we want to write about a story, and I've done this sort of exercise before with short stories, which is great. We have a concept to say a character that is this, a character that is this, a setting that is this, and a situation that's that. And we both take those points and we both write something completely different, because it's what we brought to it. So the thing that we always forget is just how much of our world and life experience, our passions, our differences, our perspectives, how much we bring into that story. And that is why you should dare. That is why, yes, you are the best person to write that. Who are you? you're the best person to write that story.
Yeah. And I just want to mention too, like when we're talking about imposter syndrome, even when you think I'm going to solve it, and we're going to get into what to do about it and all that kind of thing, but as long as we're talking about what it is and where it shows up, I just was at an awards banquet where they gave me 2 awards, and that was fantastic. And then I'm like, yay, I'm a good writer, like more than my mom says so. Right. And then I come back and I get on, I'm like, okay, so I want to give back. I want to help. And so I have a weekly, stream on the business of creativity that, yes, it's kind of, I don't know, is talk show the right word? I don't know, whatever it is. It's a thing. So I'm out there talking
a talk show, and it's awesome.
Oh, thank you. I didn't even pay her to say that either. But I'm like, okay, so now I'm out here pontificating on ways to be creative and businesslike. And, oh gosh, have I turned into that guy? And you're always going to find a place to feel imposter syndrome. There's not a point where you just level out of that. I'm sorry. Like it's going to keep coming back, which is why we're going to have this panel. So
can I circle actually around to actually talking about experts too? I've had this conversation with actually quite a few people in my life recently, where I think our culture is moving towards looking externally because there are experts giving us advice on tons of things, whether it's the toothpaste you should buy. We're going through a global pandemic, so we have experts all over the world giving us, competing data, competing direction. We're being told what to watch. We're being told these are the new books we should read. And then you read the back and you're like, but that sounds stupid. No, because the experts say this one's going to be like, this is it. Like, and if you don't like this, then you're not part of the cool in club or like the popular club, or you listen to popular music and you're like, I don't really resonate with this, but the experts say this is the newest, greatest thing. And so I feel like we're constantly being told this is what you need to wear because these are the colors of the season, like these are the trendy shoes now. And I'm constantly going through my day with experts telling me how to live. And then you can get lost in that and forget, well, don't be you need to be an active participant in your life. You can't just be on the sidelines being dictated, how to live your life, because that's super boring. So yeah. I think because we're so bombarded with that, then when we dare to be our own expert, that goes against the grain with so many things we shoulder up against and brush up against every day, that it's
how can we be the expert? Other people are supposed to be the experts.
Yeah, everybody else is, because like on my phone, like I get notifications of experts telling me what I need to do and what I need to buy in order to be happy or healthy or whatever. So for me, I'm coming to terms more with that too. Like, wait a minute. Yes, there are experts, but I need to use discriminating wisdom on who I listen to. And when I actually stand in my own power and say, no, I'm the expert in this. In my writing voice, Mark, just like you said, in my writing voice, guess what? Sarah's the expert for Sarah's writing voice, and just like honoring that. Yes, sorry.
And there's subjective and objective, right? Like my day job is in science, and sorry, this is my edge in political, but I'm American, so deal with it. But if somebody says the vaccine will make you magnetic, and I'm going to be like, objectively, no, okay. But if somebody says you would look great in orange. Okay, who's looking? What are their rods and cones? All of this.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff going on there. So I think it's important to say, like, everybody gets to have an opinion. Not everybody's opinion is worth as much as other, opinions that are more educated, more informed, kind of thing. So, so we do have a couple of questions I want to pull in from the chat. How do you overcome the idea that you should be able to write things that you yourself might not feel is good enough to read? Or to put it other way, how do you stop yourself from being your own worst critic? How much time do we have? Because I got a semester on this. So, so somebody else other than me start.
Personally, I always end up looking at that before I put out something, and I'm like, can I let people see this? Eventually, you just have to reach a point where you're like, the whole reason I'm putting it out to my beta readers is to make certain that I can get rid of stuff that's cringy. And then you just have to keep reminding yourself that you can't be brave unless you're actually afraid. It's that fear that lets you be brave.
That's true. Good point, Brandy.
Yeah.
I think for me, actually, if I don't love reading it, it's not done yet. And so I have my own worst critic moments, but they come earlier in my process. So I'm not sure, where everybody is, like if my process parallels anybody else's, but if I am delighted and feel something and give a damn about my character, like if I'm pulled in, sucked in, then I know that I can share it with others. If I'm not there yet, then I know I'm not there yet. So now then I share it, and let's say I send it to Mark, and then I'm terrified because I'm like, oh my God, what if he hates it? What if I'm full of crap? I loved it, but like, who am I? I'm a weirdo. Like, is anyone else? So then I go through my own little like freak out phase, but I love it.
Did I get you that feedback sooner rather than later? Is that going to help?
Mark's my publisher. Great question. So I have my own freak out phase, but I go through this almost a euphoric, like I nailed it. And then I send it out and I'm like, I didn't nail it. What am I thinking? So, but that's my process. So I
think one of the challenges with, it's a great question, by the way. One of the challenges with this is when people don't know anything, they think they know everything. It's that the inverse principle. So that if you know enough to know that you're not perfect, you know that you need to improve. And so one of the challenges with that is the fact that you feel it's not good enough is probably a sign that you are growing constantly as a writer. You look at it and you want to make it better. And that's a really good thing. And it's really difficult to take that and then separate yourself from it. A tip that I think can help is, sometimes you're pleased with your writing, but you think, oh, it could be better. It should be better. Take a look at that piece of writing and go back to writing you did a year ago or whatever. So comparisonitis is an issue, right? That's I think Joanna Penn from the Creative Penn podcast that I first heard her use that term, comparisonitis. And we're constantly comparing ourselves to the most successful people, like, hey, look at what Stephen King's doing. Oh, I haven't sold that many books, that kind of thing. And that happens a lot in the indie author community because we only hear about the 1% of authors that are killing it and making 7 figures a year from selling their ebooks. And we think there's something wrong with us because we didn't sell that many. But actually, if you compared yourself to yourself, not to the other people, and where you were last year or the year before, or the month before, that's probably it should be an indication. If you are doing worse or the writing isn't as good, then you can sit back and maybe more objectively think, well, what am I doing differently now? What have I done? Have I tried a new style that's not my style? Am I writing in a genre that I'm not as passionate about, or it doesn't resonate with me, or I don't understand the tropes as well as I should? So that sort of comparing yourself to yourself, not to others, can possibly be a mechanism to help you start to understand, yes, you're being critical because you're constantly growing as a writer.
Oh my God, I want to hug you now, Mark.
I'm sorry, what?
I was just going to say, oh my God, Mark, I just want to hug you. That really just resonated through my whole being. Thanks.
Yeah. What related to that, what I was going to say was you only get imposter syndrome if you respect the craft, right?
Yes.
Like the fact that you are worried about it means you care enough to be worried about it. That guy who's like, well, yeah, of course I could write a book. He doesn't care. He doesn't have imposter syndrome because he doesn't care. So, first of all, acknowledge that that's saying something about your dedication and your self-awareness. And I think that's something to take and, put that to work for you. And then the other thing that I think is just super huge is I am not my work. I am not my work. My work is very close to me. Like Sarah was talking about earlier, I write something. It's basically like getting naked. Like my work is very close to me. I don't write that kind of work, but what I'm saying is, but ultimately, if somebody, I turned in some pages to my critique group a couple of months ago, and I knew they were a little rough. I pulled out some older stuff and done a touch up on it. And one of my critique partners said, this just didn't take me the way your work usually does, which was about the kindest way she could have put, what the heck were you thinking? Why did you give me this? Which was a really valid way to say that. And I realized that I had leveled up as a person because I took that as an incredibly valid critique of those subpar pages. but no part of me was like, oh, I'm a terrible person, I'm a terrible writer, that kind of thing. It didn't break me because I have done enough critiques at this point to know that's about those pages. And there was a reason I sent those pages to the critique group, because I kind of knew they were not ready. Okay.
Yeah.
So all that did was confirm that my vibe on those pages was correct. And she believes I can do better.
Awesome.
What's to get upset about? Okay. So yeah, a lot of this is about perspective and, taking things in context. So
could I riff off that just a bit, Laura?
please do.
Something else, when the last manuscript I sent to my content editor, I knew that there were trouble spots, but I also knew, for expediency's sake, that if I sent it to her to do what she does, because I love working, like, I knew that I could toil over it for a few more weeks, but I also knew that why? Because her feedback, her feedback is going to be way more efficient.
That is literally her job, right?
Yeah, that is her job. So also embracing the team, I feel, is super important, and can be, and then you realize that your work is your work, but if you're putting something out if something's getting published, like, you're gonna have a team that works on it and helps you birth this amazing piece. So yeah, me just accepting that, and also like giving myself permission to pass over something that I knew that needed her touch. That actually was a super empowering moment for me, and also let me kind of get myself off the hook, so to speak.
I always
edit.
Oh yeah, totally.
Sorry,
let
Brandy,
Laura
what were
go
you saying?
first. Oh, okay. I just wanted to throw in a quick comment of I always use the comment, "We are smarter than I will ever be," and it's so true.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm sorry, Mark.
I like to take that a little step further. So you're working with your editor, and your editor's job is to find the errors to help make you a better writer. And this is not easy for all writers to get that feedback from an editor. It hurts. It's your baby. You cared for this. You produced this, and somebody's criticizing it. You have to remember, as Sarah said, this is part of a team, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as Brandy said, the we, that's very, very critical, because you're working together to make it better. So, and I know most writers should never read the reviews, because I think that's one of the things that helps propagate imposter syndrome, because you get a 1-star review and you go, oh my God, they're right. I should never have written a book. But I have sometimes found that reviews can actually help you understand the perspective of the reader. And I've actually used reviews because somebody took the time to write something about how they felt about what I wrote. I feel that's important for me as a writer. Some of the best revisions I've made as a story were when I submitted it through traditional markets to an editor who rejected it, but left 1 or 2 lines of commentary about what didn't work. Yeah. I know, having been an editor reading slush piles, they never do that unless they think there's some merit in your writing and that you'll actually pay attention, because they don't have time. They have 1,000 other manuscripts to go reject before they find the one diamond in the rough. And so when they take the time to let you know it didn't work, I've used that and resold those stories to other editors. I even had an editor one time, the first time I met him in person, this is like pre-internet days when you didn't just meet people online, and he recognized my name, even though he had never bought a single story from me, because he remembered there was merit in every single rejection I got. And all I got from him was rejections. I actually shook his hand and said, thank you. Your rejections helped make me a better writer, and I sold my story. So he was apologetic for not accepting them, but I was just appreciative that he took the time to help me. So I try to take, and I do recommend writers should never look at the reviews. Try not to, because it can really hurt, and it's really hard. But what I have done is I've looked at reviews in the same way. Somebody took the time and care to let me know something. Is there something in that I can look at as a writer? And again, I think it was Laura that said, you have to separate yourself from your work. Okay, this is me. They're not criticizing me unless they're a jerk and they're criticizing me in the review. But
and then there are
those ones you can completely ignore.
Yeah, exactly.
Personally, I was just gonna say, personally, I always do read the responses and the reviews, but I take 1-star reviews as that person is not my reader. For whatever reason, they were just not going to be a fan of that ever. And that's okay. But I do like, as Mark said, looking over that and seeing what they didn't like and why, and how I can take that and improve from it.
And that becomes your new marketing. Like, oh, what do I need to do to tweak this to make sure I'm grabbing this person, not that person? Right?
Exactly.
Like, that's valuable data to me. Not that the 1-star is fun, but I'm going to take it and use it. Thanks.
Yep.
So something else that has really helped me is I truly feel that when I release a book, whether it's in the beta stage, editing stage, or publishing stage, that it's no longer about me. When I'm writing it at my desk by myself, yes, it's about me because I'm still toiling with it. But when I release it to the world, I hate, like, this probably sounds harsh, but my feelings are no longer relevant to a reader's experience with a story. And I'm releasing it to the world so that readers can have an experience. Not so I can have an experience, but so readers can have an experience. That's why I love sharing stories with people, because I'm creating an experience. And if people choose to create or to experience that one, like, that's great, but really it's not about me at that stage. So when I recognize that it's actually not about me, it's about the reader experience, that also freed me up to be more open. And because I know I've read books and really resonated, and I've also read books that I haven't finished because I'm like, oh, my experience is so awful, I'm not going to finish this, or my experience is so beautiful. I've read books and then immediately read it again because I was just so moved and my experience was so just intense. And so having those things happen, I realized that it's not about me. So let the readers have whatever path they are on, because that's what it's all about at that stage. So yeah.
I just heard a podcast the last couple of weeks, or somebody did a word analysis of their books reviews, and like leaving out the and words, but like actual just more relevant nouns. The word that was like 2 or 3 times more common than anything else in the reviews was the word I. It's like, it's not about me, it's not about my book, it is all about the reader. There's exactly. So
that would be really interesting to do, to actually just make a word cloud of all of them.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And that's, I mean, honestly, I kind of plan to do that in the future, because I'm going to pull it out for marketing purposes, because I want to see what things people keep mentioning.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I will totally have to do so for my series.
Nice t-shirt, word cloud with all the like poop and crap and all that. There's that's the imposter syndrome again. I'm sorry.
All right. So let's hit another question, because we've spent a long time on that one. And the question is, how do you deal with feeling like you failed your fans? In this case, specifically release dates getting pushed back, but there are lots of ways that I can figure out to feel how I might have failed my fans. Can anyone speak to that?
I'm going to ask a great question, Danielle. What is it that made you feel that you failed your fans? Was it that you had to move a release date? So a couple things to remember is, one of the reasons you might have moved a release date is because the book wasn't ready and it wasn't good enough, because your fans deserve your best, right? They're following you, they love your stuff, and they're with you. And they're most likely, I think one of the challenges is, if you have communicated with them, even when you make mistakes, because we're all human, and say, I was supposed to release the book this month, it's not going to happen. I have to, go back to the editor for another pass, or something else happened. Life gets in the way all the time. People understand, right? You make plans, and sometimes, what is it? Men laugh, or men make plans, God laughs. That sort of thing. So if you communicate with your fans and let them know, you've at least opened up that communication to let them inform them that you've had to change something. I've had to do that a couple times, where I've had to actually push things back. And again, I had no good excuse other than I needed to incorporate new things in that kind of came up. I'm like, well, I can't ignore this now. And that's going to take me an extra several weeks of back and forth and all this other stuff. So that may be one thing to do, is just let them know. Like, I think if you don't communicate with them, then maybe you can feel like you're letting them down. But if you've communicated with them, honestly, they'll probably back you up and support you, and maybe make you feel even better about the conviction of why you needed that extra time, because you're really doing it for them. You don't want to deliver them a substandard product, right?
For my next book, Fox's Facade, I was hoping to actually have it out this summer. And I told my readers early on, guys, I just realized I'm going to have to rewrite like 80% of this from my rough draft. I was not expecting it to be that much. So I just apologized. I was like, I'm sorry, I will get this out to you as quickly as possible, let you know when I'm sending it to the editors and such. They've all been really, really great about it.
I'm just going to agree with everything that was said because I lost the sound for a while. So yeah, it's great. So
you didn't like that silly dad joke I shared, or
it was great. It's the best dad joke. It's definitely not an imposter dad joke at all. It's totally
it was
fine.
a real dad joke. It had socks and sandals and everything in it.
It was sus.
It was sus. All right. And we got a question that comes in. Leslie, I see half of a question. If you want to give me the other half, we will get your question up.
Leslie can
wait, it did come down. So it's down there. Okay. Okay. That's you. So the question for the recording is, J.K. Rowling said in an interview that the world doesn't need more writers, it needs more readers. Since hearing that, I have struggled. And I'm just going to respond. Remember at the beginning when I said everybody gets an opinion, but not all opinions are equally valid?
Yep.
Why would you say that? I don't know. And maybe there was context that I'm lacking, but I have some feelings.
J.K. Rowling have said other things I disagree with too, but she's also a brilliant writer and an amazing businesswoman. However, I wholeheartedly disagree. How most people want to write a book, most people will never write a book. Readers, I know voracious readers who read 1 or 2 books a day.
Yeah.
We can't possibly keep up with their demand. The world already has plenty of amazing readers. The challenge is getting in front of the right readers. Yeah. So I don't think that is a problem at all. I think the problem is more, how do you get in front of the right people who are going to just love your stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a weird, scary, but true thing that I say a lot is half of marketing is filtering out people so they don't pick up your work, which sounds terrifying.
Yep.
But
that's perfect, Laura.
Yeah.
Oh my God, the shift that just happened in my head. Thank you.
Yay, yeah. But that's the thing is, like, we think we need to attract everybody. We think we need to write for everybody. We think we need to address everybody. No, I've got a narrow little niche of people who like angsty, emo, epic fantasy, and those are my peeps, right? And and then this person over here who's like paranormal, fly fishing, romance. Bravo, go grab that book. I'm not for you, right? Okay, so I can't write for everybody. So somebody else needs to pick up the slack because there's not enough paranormal, fly fishing, romance to fill that market wherever it is. So I'm sure it is. Okay. So yeah, go do that thing.
Like I said earlier, know who your readers are and then find those people. Look for them. Knowing who your readers are is a huge thing.
And I have to add to Brandy, when you enunciate something and your ears wiggle, that is just so amazing. I know the people in the audio aren't going to be able to hear it, but it's just so compelling. I love that. I love the way you've crafted that.
Thank you.
Did we lose audio from Laura again?
Oh, I think we might have.
While she's doing that, I'm just going to jump on James's question.
Oh, okay.
The question is, I know we're talking about imposter syndrome, but I'm curious, what was a moment where you went, I'm not an imposter, I'm a writer, and did that change things for you? James, this super resonates with me, super duper resonates with me, because that moment didn't happen for me until actually last October when I got my first arts grant. And the first manuscript I ever wrote was accepted in a traditional publishing house, a small American press. I was told that that's not typically what happens. My first novel was optioned for a feature film, which is really exciting. All that happened, and I still didn't feel for real, like for realsies, until I got actually an arts grant. So for me, that was my turning point. And I hate to say it was that external validation when I had other external validations. But I think I'd done a lot of internal work, like soul searching work. And so I was ready to actually receive that. So for me, that was my turning point. Yeah. And good luck, because it's amazing when you finally hit that, but it took me like 12 years to get there.
I have hit that multiple times where I think, oh, this is the thing that means I'm a real writer. And the reality is I continually fall back to imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
It was, I pitched this to a publisher and they accepted it without even seeing the manuscript that hadn't been written yet. Oh, this has been nominated for a literary award. Oh, I've hit this bestseller list. Any of those things that can happen. I mean, even as something as, and it may seem simple, but hearing from somebody you have no idea who they are, they're a complete stranger, and they either they added you on Twitter or they sent you an email, either came through the publisher or it came directly to you, depending on how they reached out, and you learned that something you wrote resonated with them and it helped them or it touched them in some way. Those are the moments, and I try to remember those moments because every single day I feel imposter syndrome. So there's nothing that can happen that will actually make it go away. A friend of mine was at Thriller Fest in New York a few years ago, and there was a panel of international best-selling authors that are household names that we would all know. So it was folks like Nora Roberts. She writes thrillers under J.D. Robb. It was, I believe, Clive Cussler, Lee Child, and the guy who wrote the novel that the movie, the first Sylvester Stallone, the Vietnam guy. What was that? It was made into a movie where he just kills a whole bunch of people. Rambo, thank you. Yeah, the guy who wrote the novel that was Rambo was based on. So thank you. I can't remember the gentleman's name, unfortunately. I think there's like 600 million copies of books sold amongst all these people on the stage. And every single one of them, Lee Child specifically said, with every new book I put out, I'm worried that they're going to find out that I'm an imposter. And I don't know what I'm doing, and maybe I can't really write after all. And I'm thinking, so there will. Thank you, David Morrell. Thank you, Renee, for sharing that. And David Morrell has written many other books, and he's been successful as a mid-list author. That's the one book that was made into something significant that most people would know, even though they don't know his name. And so that's something that's not ever going to go away, no matter what level you think, oh, if I get this, then I'll, if I get $100,000 advance from a publisher, or if I #1 bestseller on Amazon, or if whatever, anytime you hit those things, you're constantly realizing, no, that wasn't it. Like, it feels good, but you may still have to deal with imposter syndrome, which is why I recommend you'll never get rid of it. So you have to kind of learn how to live with it. It's like those things about yourself. You're like, well, I just know I'm this way. I'm not a morning person or whatever. It's like, you just accept them and try to live graciously alongside it, and just remind them who's boss.
I would also challenge all of us to not only live with it, but harness it. Like, how can we harness this? How can we harness this imposter syndrome? And my editor, she talks about just, it gives her more focus, and it gives her more drive and determination. And I really, really liked it when she said that. I'm like, dang, you're right. Cause you're right. Cause you work harder, you write harder, you write smarter. You're just more receptive to learning more and building that great team around you. Yeah. So let's harness it, every one of us.
Yeah. All right, so we have a question. Sorry, Brandy. Okay, I was going to move us on. So do you have anything you want to wrap up from that?
I was actually just going to say, one of the things I do is every time I find myself falling into that thought pattern of, what am I doing? I'm not good enough. I can't do this. It's the silliest thing in the world. But I go and I find a mirror and I stand in front of that and I look at it and I repeat all of those, except I turn it on its head. So instead of, I'm glad they didn't realize I'm a fake. suddenly becomes, I'm glad someone recognized the work I put into this project. They'll realize I don't deserve to be here. No, that's not what I'm telling myself. I am here because I have put in the work.
Nice.
Right.
It looks silly as heck, but it's that positive reinforcement, and you have to retrain your mind to at least help stop that before it gets, really, really bad.
Yeah. And then they're not paying rent. They don't get to live in your head. Like, yeah,
No.
that's yeah.
They're there rent-free, get rid of them.
So long. So Anna asks, for those who don't have a book published yet, do you have any advice for keeping your spirits up? And she says, I have a few short story or essay publications, but because I don't hear any feedback beyond we'd like to publish it, those publications almost feel like a mistake sometimes, as in they made a mistake in asking to publish. So I'm just going to do a really quick start, and then I'm going to pass that around. Guys, I don't know if you've ever sat and listened to an editor facing a slush pile. Like, they don't just mercy take stuff. Okay. They really, really want to find good things. And they really, how can I say this in the truest but nicest way? When you have, a friend of mine is editing an anthology right now, and she has, I think, over 700 submissions for this that came in. When you have 700 things sitting on your desk that you would like to get through sometime in this millennia, you're kind of looking for a reason to put it down and move to the next one. Okay. So if they made it to the end and then said they want it, that's not a lie, because they didn't have that time to put in otherwise. Okay. So there's my thing. Now other people go.
I want to jump on that too, Anna. That it's so true. Laura says, when I read for submissions for anthologies, I'm looking for any little tiny reason to reject it. Any little thing, because I have so much other stuff that I know I'm going to get. So the fact that you've sold stories and had them published was definitely huge kudos to you. What it meant is that you got the right editor, the right reader at the right time. That will happen for the books that get published, that get submitted and out there. It's just a matter of keeping at it and not giving up. And I know it's hard not to give up, but go back to those acceptances and remember that story was 1 in 500, 1 in 1,000, 1 in 2,000, whatever, that you made it into that magazine, anthology, online journal, whatever it was, through a submission process where you were selected because it was that good that it stood out. The other thing to remind you, and this goes way back to something I learned when I first started submitting, manuscripts out, back in prior, snail mail. There was no internet. And it was the fact that you get about an average of 13 rejections for every acceptance. And so I kind of hold that number in the back of my mind. It's like, okay, have I actually sent this out 13 times? I actually sent stuff out 30 times before I got an acceptance in some cases. Sometimes it was the first time or the second time. I just lucked out and happened to get the right person at the right time. And that will happen. You obviously have the talent. It's just a matter of continuing to believe in yourself. And if you don't believe in yourself, ping me and I'll believe in you for you. So there, that's my warning to you.
Nice.
I suggest tracking all of your achievements, no matter what they are, no matter whether they're, I got published and paid to do this here, or if it's as small as I finished my 2,000 words that I said I was going to do, and that was a stretch goal. Track those, because those are very important to keeping you remembering that you're doing this for a reason.
Yeah. I would add to that, there were absolutely times where that inner critic, that inner voice, when I would, ask myself, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing? And so then I actually thought I was done. I thought I was done. And it turns out I can't not write. I'm the most me when I'm writing. And so having that inner conversation and just those inner realizations, I talked about external validation, but you also have to have internal validation too. You were drawn to writing for a reason. And there's value to that. And there's value in your writing. And my other day job was as an archaeologist, and that you don't get into archaeology to make $1 million. Like, you just don't. You have to do it. You do it because you love it. So I put up with ticks, mosquitoes, wet boots for God, too many years, crappy food, living in tents. Like, you gotta love it. And I really did. And that's why I stuck it out as long as I did, because there was just a spark to it that made me feel alive. And writing has the same thing for me. So yeah, man, when you face those dark nights, because I mean, we all have them. That's why we're here with this panel. And we all have those. And you know what? That's okay. That's living. That's life. We also have crappy, regular days in life. So just stick with yourself and remember that you're right because you love it and because that's who you are. That's part of what makes you you. And it doesn't matter how many publications you have out. That doesn't diminish who you are. And so I know Laura talked about your writing isn't you, right? Like there is a separation to that. But you as an artist, that artist is there forever, right? So just honor her and have fun.
My husband can tell whenever I haven't been writing enough.
Mm-hmm.
He'll walk over and be like, go write a short story or something. You're just being bitchy. You can't do that. Just go.
Right on.
See, I just, when I'm in revisions, just pray for my husband because I'm like, I am looking for things that are wrong. I'm sorry. Just go live over there for a while. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Right on. Good.
Okay, so we are officially on the 4-minute countdown for panelists and for attendees. So if you have remaining questions, this is your time. Slip them in right now. I think this has been a pretty good chat, guys. Like I think there's a lot of good things going on. Yeah.
Can I add something? And we talked about this, the four of us talked about this a bit. For me, when imposter syndrome rears its ugly head, it's never about the work I realized this recently. It's not about the work I'm doing. It's always something external going on. Or I shouldn't say external. It's something where the work, my writing is actually just raising awareness where something else needs my attention. So if I feel that imposter syndrome, I have to look at, okay, where else in my life am I actually feeling vulnerable? So it's a really beautiful like flag, like Sarah, you need to give yourself some self-care, some self-love, or just pay attention to something in your life that you're not listening to.
Are you suggesting writers are organic beings that are influenced in many areas? What? Like what? Okay.
No.
Yeah.
Perhaps. So that might resonate with some of you guys too. So that helped me like, okay, what needs attention in my life?
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good point. Okay. All right. So I'm not seeing remaining questions. So real quickly, just hop around and tell us where to find you and what we should look for. Like if you have something really cool that I desperately need to know about. Sarah, you're still in my top left. So I'm throwing you under the bus first.
You know what? Actually, I just teamed up with Mark. Yay! Thank you, Mark. I need you to be excited. Yeah. So
I can't wait to get the new version of this amazing novel back out into the universe.
Yes, I'm super stoked. So Stark Publishing is releasing my Hearthstone series. And the first one, Kiss Me in the Rain, will be re-released in September 21st of this year. And we have the schedule for the whole, so soon. So it's awesome. I'm super stoked and Mark's friggin' brilliant. So like your writing team, it is a community. It takes a village. Yeah. Also for writers. So find your team.
On the team note, really quickly, something that occurred to me when we were talking about teams earlier is if you've not heard the phrase, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Like hear that phrase now. Like it is perfectly acceptable not to be the smartest person in the room. That means you have opportunity. Okay. Yeah. So there you go. Brandy, tell us. Oh yeah. You
were the smartest one.
And the pressure, like I can't let down. Yes, please no. All right, Brandy, tell us where to find you.
If anyone wants to find me, I put up a nice little list there. If you generally search for Foxy Writer, pretty much anywhere, you will find me. If you want to go specifically over to YouTube, I'm actually currently doing a read through of my first novel, Hunter's Gambit, over there, where I'm doing like one chapter a week, and you can just listen along or read with me. And yeah, you can, I guess, get a taste of that. I am on Twitch. I usually do gaming on Twitch. Right now I'm doing a lot of Genshin Impact, but go to the
Awesome.
YouTube if you want to hear me actually reading my work.
Awesome.
All right. Mark.
You can find me, anything you want to know about me and things you don't want to know about me over at markleslie.ca. I do have a book coming out inspired by a talk I gave a few years ago at One Words Collide called Publishing Pitfalls for Authors, where I do talk about the things that get in our way of success. And I do want to just share an inspirational line that I shared with a very dear friend who is an amazingly talented creator who is always feeling imposter syndrome. And it's a quote from a good friend of mine, James Owen, who said, "Nobody ever inspired anyone else to greatness by pretending to be less awesome than they actually are. You are awesome, and you will inspire other people through the things that you write. So don't forget to believe in yourself first."
Good. Go
Shine
inspire
bright.
people. Yay. All right. I'm Laura VanArendonk Baugh, and probably the most relevant thing to our talk here today is I do have that weekly stream on the business of creativity. It's live on Twitch for discussion. It replays on YouTube and like a podcast somewhere. But yeah, I did a whole bit on using rejection and criticism, knowing how to filter it, and what to take more seriously. So if that would be useful to you, that's out there for free replay. Go have fun. So
Awesome.
Otherwise, I'll see people around. So hey, everybody, thanks for coming and hanging out with us.
Yes, thank you for coming.
So and have a fantastic conference, and I will see you guys around. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
See you guys. Happy WWC.
Yay.